Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we are looking into quite an old game, really, but one such that has flew underneath my radar for sure. This game is called As We Descend, and we will definitely be descending into the depths today. This is a very difficult game. Inspiration from the likes of Slay the Spire. It's a deck builder at the end of the day. Into the Breach, which were the developers of that did FTL and other games similar to that. So it's a good one. It's a good game. I can definitely recommend it. It is complex. There's a lot of things going on, but once you've sort of gone through the first sort of introduction, if it were, you sort of getting the sort of feelers out there and getting understanding and grips at the game. It sort of plays itself. You get sucked into the playstyles between different characters, Darkest Dungeon, that sort of style of gameplay and difficulty, and the effect of a loss is dire and it is grave. Bonuses, the art style, it's dope. Let's be real. This is pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. So what we're going to be doing today, I have already gone through quite a lot of, there's a couple different, there's only two at the moment, but there's two factions, the Votives and the Guild. Now I have already progressed, a little bit into the Votive, but the Guild is what I'm going to be focusing on today, and sort of, I guess the aim of this video is, I just want to learn how it plays, because my first run did not go very well at all. So I'm going to be beginning a new descent here. And we're going to choose Guild. And I kind of want to take it slow with this. I want to help you understand the game with me. I'm very new to this game. There's a lot of stuff that flies past me. But the thing we're going to be focusing on is this unique effect, which is Shock. So they take stagger after each turn. Detonates at 10 plus stacks, dealing damage equal to stacks times 2. Counts down each turn. The flow and the rune, effectively just energy, and the rune is different to the Votives. The Votives allow you to sort of redraw a card, like you shuffle it into your discard pile and you draw a card from your draw pile. This one, however, is we get to reserve a card for the next turn, and I'm certain there are cards that have bonuses if you do reserve them for the next turn. Either they'll, maybe lose one of your resources to cost, like to play the card, and etc, etc. So the unit that we are starting with is a Ranger, which has a multi-hit auto attack. So effectively, however many units is within this squad is how many attacks it'll hit in their auto attack. And then our Lantern, pretty standard stuff here. Auto action that applies barrier to a friendly unit with the least barrier. So this one is perhaps focusing more on the ranged side of things. And as we can see, I have unlocked the Shock Trooper. Heavyweight crossbow infantry equipped for suppression. Let's give it a go. I'm going to not put any mutations on because this already did not go well for me. So I'm gonna try and attempt this myself. So if you've never seen this game and this is the first time you are looking into this, this could be quite overwhelming. But the developers cited themselves that they sort of wanted to go into, or they took inspiration from like the Civilization, the Sid Meier's games, or Sid Meier's, whereby you make these difficult decisions at the first sort of half of the game. Now, I have unlocked and have already spoken to most of, if not all, I'm not sure, all of the all of the NPCs here in the town. But here we are with the Mythion Apprentice. The lantern researcher is deep in his studies, more relics from the past. It is time for you to take on a field apprenticeship. Draft your initial 2 units. Okay, so right off the bat, we can look at getting this shock trooper, which I haven't used yet. So I'm leaning toward this one already. So whenever shock is applied, also apply feeble 1. Now, feeble basically is your like power -1 sort of debuff. They'll do 1 less damage effectively per stack of feeble. He has guided shot, deal 10 critical damage. If this destroys a weak point, draw 2. Interesting. And fixation on an enemy. Fixation basically just means that when possible, if there is fixation on this unit, all of your attacks from like an auto attack will go toward that unit. Now this ranger has draw 3. They each cost +1 more this turn. I'm irrelevant of how interesting that card is. I'm going to go with a shock trooper. Because I haven't played with him yet. And I'm assuming they may go toward like a shock build. Just, hence the name. Limited charges from the discard pile. So it would be like the overclock, it would be the guided shot as well. So there is synergy here with the technician. Now I may be blitzing through this a little too fast, but this is fairly familiar. So all we've done is, as a deck builder format, what we have done is chosen our starter deck basically and our unit. Now, when we go into an actual battle, whatever units we take with us will be included into our whole deck to draw from through the fight. We now have to talk to the Tinker. A discovery, so we can acquire a charm or acquire a tech. Now, the tech costs 40 copper, which is, quite expensive. However, let's read what it does. So, Hollowcaster. Discover a card from the draw pile when the battle begins. Add a copy to hand with limited charges 1. Playing this card uses a charge. Once all charges are spent, banish it. I actually quite enjoy the sound of that. Now, let me just talk about the format of the game, because we've got buttons here saying like next cycle. We have, who are these guys? Our envoys at the bottom of the screen. Effectively, we have, 4 cycles within a, I don't know, I guess you'd call it like a day, or the whole depth sort of ends on the final cycle, the 4th cycle. So the first cycle of every depth is your planning cycle. So you can use your ally cards, which are at the bottom here, which are our envoys or envoys. And these, they have stats on them. Now that is very interesting for certain bits and pieces. For instance, this Tinker, if I hover over her, it says I can buy delayed favor, and there's a 5 copper cost, and then there's an intellect roll or an intelligence roll. So depending on which envoy or ally you place to certain people, now you can tell where these can go based on if you either press the number, similar to the Slay the Spire sort of format on that, or if you drag them out of your sort of display pile here. You can see by the glowing outlines and the little square at the bottom. So we can do a selection of things here. So there is already choices that can be perhaps a little overwhelming to a first player. And then we go into the scouting cycle. Now this is where we are conducting our first sort of fights, and we bring back resources to the city, to the Citadel, whatever this is called, and we progress our units. We get upgrades. Our lantern, which is this glowing Ava lady here, the last bulwark protecting the vulnerable arc vault interior, etc., etc. This is where we go out, come back with all the resources that we've gathered, and then bolster, your deck. You sort of deck build that way. And then there is an attack wave here. So anything in between the planning cycles will be sort of a mandatory event that we have to defend the Citadel from an attack. So it can be quite tricky, really. If you have lost all of your health scouting, what do you do when there's an attack wave coming? But after that, you do get the resting cycle, and now this is where you do actually use those cards, or those things that you bring back from the expeditions. And then once you've sort of bolstered everything up, then you go to the boss, and if you manage to defeat him, then you go to the next depth, where everything gets a little bit trickier. So I'm going to try and go at a slower pace, but and explain things. But I've got a little bit of a grasp of what's going on. So this envoy, I really like to start by going to the reinforcement chap here, which is the Scavenger. The miasma batters the walls, a constant reminder of the dire presence living beyond the scavengers at the rally point. Can help reinforce the walls or prepare for an additional expedition. So I, 9 times out of 10, always acquire a makeshift expedition here. So what this one does, when we go to the scouting cycle, this one, normally you'd have 8 scavengers with you, but this one gives you 4. Now I'll touch on that a little bit later on, but I'm going to pick that card up for now. And I'm now going to go to... I'm going to go to the plaza, because the chance encounters can actually be quite good. Yeah, I'm going to gain some money here, because I already spent some money by getting this artifact. But that means I can't go there again, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to the shop. And as you can see here, there is a sort of a hidden item up here that requires a dice roll. Now it's high risk, so I've only got 28% chance to succeed, as you can see at the top left of my screen. Now I don't think there's any consequence of trying it anyway, so if you ever come across any of these, you might as well do it. But what I'm going to do is there's a couple interesting things in here. So there is favor, which if you noticed with some of the cards, you have your green sort of emerald gem at the top left of these cards, and then you also have this spherical amber favor, and this effectively is in the likes of Slay the Spire. You get your 3 energy every time that you take your turn. The turn starts, you get 3 energy. Your favor, however, this is sort of a currency or a bank of energy that you actually keep in between battles. So it's not every turn it resets. You sort of expel it when you use it. So I have 8 out of 12 at the moment, so I'm going to just pick up 4 and I'll be on my way, to be honest. And then there's nothing else that we can do here, so the only thing left is to go on to the next cycle. And there we go, quite dramatic. But now we are going into the scouting cycle. But the Lantern researcher wants to talk to me. So this one is about Lantern adjustment. The ancient module will allow the guild technicians to alter the design of lanterns used on battle sites. So this one allows me to draft a lantern card to replace an existing card. So this is interesting because if I chose one of these ones, it would then actually overwrite the existing deck for the lantern. Now, the lantern will always be with us in the fights, so these choices are you know, quite paramount to the whole thing. Now, if I'm leaning toward a shock build, I should... Oh, wait. I should probably go with this card here. Cards that I have not seen before have this sort of runic scribing text on the top of the card, and it will be revealed to me what the card is once, you know, I have actually discovered it by picking it up. The rarity of the card is displayed on this little circular symbol in the middle of the card. It is basic, your standard issue rarity. If you see these blue horizontal sort of sapphire looking things here, that means every time within a fight, within a battle, I can only technically use this twice. So once it has been used twice, it sort of banishes itself from the deck, but you get to refresh it in the next battle. And you can also see at the top right of these cards, it sort of gives you a little infographic about what they are, or roughly what they do. So this one's a support action. Support cards can typically target both friendly units and the lantern. So this one is gain a rune and gain an energy. Now this one is, you know, a really nice card. 0 cost, but it is only 1 time use, which isn't too bad. You know, we've got a lot of flow barriers here, and if our lantern is applying barrier, you know, there's a potential that I actually don't want that much there. So what I'm actually going to do, although yes, this one's really tempting, I want to maximize my sort of resource management. So here we are into the scouting element of the game. So you can see the expedition force is not the one that I selected with one of my choices to the rally point, because we have 8 scavengers here. So send your forces along with 8 scavengers to scavenge resources outside the city. I always start with a 4 scavenger, usually because if you see here on the unit limit, if there's only 1 unit limit, I tend to only sort of do 4 scavengers. Now, I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but I just do it and it works for me. However, the reactor rod is quite a good thing to get early, so I'm actually going to use an 8 thing here, and I'm going to go towards this one. So welcome to the battle phase. So we are up against the Husk in this fight. So he only receives half stagger from ranged attacks. Now this is going to be quite tricky with our... we've got some crossbowmen, the shock troopers. Also it has Devourer, which this enemy gains attack bonus every time it attacks. So we kind of want to stagger it before it attacks if we can. Armored enemies have armor, which again is just effectively a power -1 whenever it tries or attempts to take damage. So I'm going to choose my units. This is your sort of like planning phase. You can see your battle deck on the right. Your lantern will always be in the fight. And you can see if I'm adding any unit into the fight, it'll add to my total deck, and you know what my total cards are. So I have 8 attack cards, 4 defense cards, and 6 support cards. And we can retreat, but there's no point. We will do this absolutely perfectly fine. So this is my artifact at the moment. And I'm going to go with Critical Eye to bring to my deck in my hand in the first phase. So you may be familiar with how intense work these are, quite, you know, synonymous with a lot of roguelikes in this sort of day and age. At the top of the enemies and ourselves it will be their intent. So they have a move intent which will effectively push them forward, and I'll talk about the zones in a second and why that matters. and he has a buff intent. So these zones you can sort of see it's in, I mean, they're not really columns, but just for the sake of the fact that they're away from the screen, you've got a support zone and a guard zone. So you've got column 1, column 2, and I'm gonna do column 2, column 1, I guess, on the reverse side of things. So it's mirrored. In the support zone, units in the support zone aren't prioritized by enemies with standard attacks, while you have units in the guard zone. So if you see that symbol there with the sword and a little sort of dash at the top of it, which is what this one is here, attack intent, attack a random enemy in the front. So if there is someone in the guard zone, it will always prioritize them. But there are attacks that are a ranged attack, which will demonstrate this sort of target with a downward arrow approaching it. So at the moment, he's not really doing anything scary, so we could either set up something or we build up a bit of his stagger meter. Now this, I would say, is probably the key sort of mechanic in this game, is you can stagger enemies, which is you know, I'm surprised not more roguelikes do this, but it's absolutely brilliant. And when you do stagger them, there are occasions where you can actually hinder the abilities of the unit that is attacking you. So if there's a unit that sort of heals a lot, or if there's a unit that summons, or if there's a unit that has like a cleave ability, usually when you stagger them, you can then focus, pinpoint, and you know, attack certain things, which will then hinder those abilities or completely remove them, which is really interesting. So I'm either going to focus on, I'll use that, just gives me an extra effective turn this round. I'm just going to go and try and deal as much shock as possible. I'm going to start with Critical Eye. This gives this unit critical aim, so he doesn't have a weak point at the moment, but I'm just going to apply a lot of shock here, which he now has 4 shock. So at the end of each turn, he detonates at 10 plus stacks. So he's not at 10 at the moment, but we're building that up. So at the moment now he is, or has, a barrier intent. So he, on the next turn, will be blocking damage. And you'll see that my technicians here have 2 barrier. So my lantern applied 4, but the wonderful thing about barrier is, unless it's got like a debuff or a broken thing on it, it retains 50% between the rounds. So if you have any leftover energy and you have a shield or a barrier in your in your hand, I would use it. And the interesting thing about these cards is they will always, if not most of the time, I'm pretty sure every single one has, it has sort of a secondary effect at the bottom of the card. So when I have maximum of my energy, which I can retain a max of 5 between turns, it will apply this extra bit at the bottom here, shock 4. So I don't have that at the moment. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to reserve that for the next round, and I'm going to go down to 2 this round if I can. So I'll just use this. And in my turn, and I should go up to 5 here, and because I retained it, here it is. So he's attacking for 6 at the moment. I could apply Feeble here, which actually reduces the amount of damage he's going to do, which I'm going to do that. So now he's gone down to 2 damage, which means, you know, worst case, he hits this guy and he's on 1 barrier, but he'll actually go up to 5. So we're covered this round. I'm not worried at all now. So I'm going to apply a bit of damage. And I will reserve that, And has he still got critical aim? He does. I'm just going to end my turn, so I reserve all of this. I'm going to be at 5 energy next round, which may have synergy with certain cards in my build. So you can see if there is a synergy, there's sort of an orange hue on the majority of these cards, but there is a blue border on this one, and that means that this is actually going to apply its secondary effect. And you will also notice something has happened to Mr. Husk when we did our auto-resolve auto-attacks. So he has been staggered, and you can see I can focus 2 separate things here. So I can focus the nodule, which is just the weak point, so they will always do 1.5x damage. And there is also a shell. So the shell will destroy its armor and ranged stagger resistance. Now this is important for us because we have ranged units. Well, 1 ranged unit. This technician unit, they actually generate an extra energy for us, so that is interesting. Now, don't really care about that one. If this destroys a weak point, I can draw 2, but I'm gonna start with this. I don't know if I need to use this, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. A really nice effect on the destruction of any weak point. I'm going to retain that for next round, and I'm going to shock and end my turn. So we're aiming for 15 damage or sort of 7 barrier on a unit. So can we do 15? Additional damage equal to shock? Yes, we can. Perfect. And that is fight 1 complete. Amazing. Expedition victory. Now, here we go into the Scavenger Sequence. I really like the way that they have created this. Look at the little artwork on this. Some elements are gated from you have to sort of break the debris first to open this, but otherwise you can access them. There is also, if you have less scavengers than the amount required, it will effectively do sort of a roll check of the percentage of how many go into the amount required, and if you succeed that check, you will get the item, and if you don't, you will lose it. But most commonly, you will get a bit of copper back. So don't be worried about how many scavengers. You know, if there's something, if you've got 8 scavengers and you know, you have 2 3s on the board, and then there's still something else worth 4, and you've used 6 of them with those 2 3s, you can still get a 50% chance of getting the last one. Now, this one is unknown to me, and this one I do know, and it drafts a perk, which is incredibly powerful. This one also drafts a combat card for units to use this from this battle. I'm going to get a perk because these are usually your sort of bread and butter of the build. They really synergize with everything that you're trying to do. So the Technician has an option for Deliberation. This begins battles with Exerted 2. At the start of each turn, draw 1 for this unit if able. Interesting, but I don't really like it. Whenever this unit becomes exerted, its next auto attack becomes a multi-attack and gain an extra hit. Interesting, but I don't have any exertion at the moment, so that kind of doesn't help me at all. And the same thing here. So effectively, will that... yeah, that exertion will stop the extra generation of flow, won't it? I'm going to go aggressive, and I'm going to go cranking device. We don't have any exertion at the moment, but you know, maybe now we have to sort of draft into it. So there we go. You can have a quick look at the map, and we have 2 1-unit limits. So I'm going to use my makeshift expedition, and I'm going to go for the amplifier module, I think. So we are against the worms. They are elusive, so they hide underground after being hit, reducing all damage taken to 1 this turn. They reduce armor, and negative armor increases damage taken instead. Interesting. So this is going to be quite difficult. What about you? What do you do? 4 damage, apply 4 shock. I'm going to go with the technician here because Resonant Echo, basically it repeats your next lantern card. So if I were to play this, it would play it twice, which is really, really good. Now we have to go up to 8 damage to block here. So what I'm going to do is, or do I just take 2 damage because he's going to barrier? He's not going to take any damage at all. Okay. Let's go with that. Nice. I don't need to barrier, so let me do that, and then I can apply shock. Do that. And I will carry that over just in case we don't draft a barrier card and I need it. So what I didn't actually take into consideration there was the armor shreds. So we actually did 2 more damage than what was originally anticipated. So I kind of miscalculated that. Now, do I want, or can I kill this guy without using Shock Blast? Don't think so. I'm going to guarantee a kill there, and I think I'm going to end my turn, but I'm going to take those into my next turn. Because I'm assuming, yes, he will attack me. So I can go like this, like this. I don't have any armor shred here, so I'm all right. I'm going to deal a bit of shock. And nice, good stagger. And it's not really much else I can do. But I might as well use those because half of it gets transferred over, so I will have 6 in the next turn. Even though he's not going to be doing anything. Let's Shock Blast him. 27 crit. Nice. Well done. So new lantern card. This is a very good card. I really like this. Rid of one of those. Okay. What are you? So, why is it that I only have 4 scavengers, right? And I have a higher chance of attaining a 7 cost than I do a 5 cost. The reason is, you can see this sort of hazardous sign here, this big warning symbol. Hazardous nodes have a much lower chance of success. If you fail the check, the item is lost. But it is a major growth. A large mass of corruption must be cleared by the scavengers first. It's likely to contain a rare item. It also has a biomass anomaly. more likely to contain a rare organic item than usual. Whereas this one is just a massive corruption, must be cleared first. It's likely to contain a Mythian grade item. Or we just draft a new combat card instead. So do I risk anything or do I not? I'm going to take the guaranteed draft, and then I'm going to have a 10% chance, which I didn't hit, but that's absolutely fine. All barrier to lantern. Interesting. Is expensive though, but I could just continue getting. Well, it's a resonant echo without favor, isn't it? So that's pretty good. You could also use the right mouse button to preview an upgrade, but mine is a little buggy, and I don't know if this is actually intended or not. But you can see it's sort of flickering, and I can't... Oh, there we go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So if I upgrade this, it actually goes into a 1 cost. So that I really do like. Yeah, sure. Topped up. Nice. So we're going to leave that, and we're going to go into our next expedition, which I'm going to go for an artifact fragment. So these fragments, you can take them to the reliquary, and you can get an artifact, or you get some favor in return. These are the Molter Scouts. They are armored, so this guy right here, the drone, I think, yeah, and the skittling. So the drone has 2 armor, and I'm assuming the skittling will be the affliction user of this fight. Let's take a barrier just in case they're aggressive turn 1, which they're not. That's fine. I can reserve that for next round. So we're going to get 4, so I can spend 2 at this turn. So limited charges from discard pile. I don't have anything in the discard pile. There's no point using that. So I can apply fixation and a barrier, which I will. So you see, he just applied Shattered. So we retain minus 50% of base barrier between turns. So effectively, whatever barrier we have, all of it goes at the end of the turn now. So that's quite a shame. I'm going to have to Resonant Echo here. I kind of... Nice. And let's move this guy forward and put him there, which is kind of a shame, but it'll do. That just guarantees that my shock trooper took that damage instead, which was quite good. So I could apply Resonant Echo here. I'm going to apply Feeble. So he's now only going to do 2 damage, which is brilliant. And perfect. This will guaranteeably stagger him, nice, and shot down, brilliant. So, when we get here, so we could have a chance at this. We could draft a card. I'm going to go for this one to open up down here. I'm going to see what the cards are first. Apply Shock 5 is very good. Draw 2 for Technician Able. I'm going to take Shock Bomb. I'm going to take that, and sure, let's give this a try. An Evolving Symbiote. Its shifting shape seeks formed flesh. It can imbue great power to an individual that melds with it. Lovely. Here we have an Ancient Manuscript elite enemy. I'm going to go for this for the sake of, you know, risk the Mesmer. He is an Afflictor. Enemies will put Affliction cards into your deck to impede you. He is a Siege attacker and a Splash attacker. Okay, so Siege is any damage that is focused against our Lantern. And Splash damage effectively... let's create a copy of that. Oh, he starts with 40 barrier, okay. And he has hidden rage. When it has health equal to 50% or less, its behavior shifts. Okay. To be honest, we've not really drawn the best cards for this. So I'm going to save that one and put a barrier and interesting. So this actually, okay, well, if he didn't have barrier, I guess I could already focus the weak points. Okay, interesting. So he's just put a Doom into our deck, which is, you know, in the likes of Slay the Spire, you'd get like just a lot of these sort of cursed cards. So it's unplayable. Using reserve on the Doom puts it in your draw pile. If I ignore it, the Shock Trooper takes damage equal to half its health and then banish it. So that's quite scary. So we want to make sure that we are maximizing and keeping our Runic Retainer as much as possible. He's going to do 15 damage to our Lantern as well, which is not good. So let's see if we can... Oh, I should have played that one first, actually. Okay. Well, bit of a blunder, but we move on, don't we? Okay. That's a lot of damage already. Oh gosh. Okay, so he's going to hit everything right now, and I have to put this Doom in there. There is a chance that we stagger him after this. It's a very low chance. Okay. Oh, we did! Oh my gosh. Nice. So, let's apply Feeble. Let's apply 5 Shock. Let's also... Yeah, there we go. Nice. That was the... I need to reserve that. And... do that. Nice, good turn, good turn, good turn. Okay, he's got 15 health. I can now put this in the reserve. He's only doing 1 damage to everything, which is great. He's got 11 shield though. So let's do this. Resonant Echo and your. I really want to keep that if I can, but I can't, so end turn. Okay. Oh my gosh. We're already on 3 health. Okay. We do shock bomb. The sort of issue I have with the guild is I'm finding with the votives the stagger is incredibly powerful, and there's just a lot of consistent DPS. Like there's a lot of damage, but I'm not finding it in these units. I mean, it may just be that I just need to keep trying different things, but ethereal form, what does that mean? He is now not going to take any damage. Okay. And how long does that last? Because I might be dead. Interesting. And I can't play that. Yeah. Oh, is that seriously gonna block that? Okay. Yeah, we are dead here. Well, we're not. We're not. We are not. We're alive. Holy cow. I cannot believe we just did that. Okay, can we kill him though? So we have a total of either 4, 9, 13 or... Yeah, okay, that's already better. So we do this. And good fight, Mr. Mesmer. Goodbye. Wow, that was a tough fight. That was scary. That was tense. But we pulled out in the end. And you see, we're only in the scouting cycle, and you know, I've been playing for a decent long time. These runs are, you know, I mean, you could definitely speed through it quite a bit, but it's such a good game. I'm gonna take a shock bomb again. I'm gonna try and lean into that shock element. And what did we say we wanted to? Yeah, we wanted to. Was it this? I think it was, wasn't it? What does this do? Oh, shock 7. I'm gonna go shock bomb and 1 in 3 chance. Didn't get it. I'll get 2 shock bomb pluses and I'll take some favor. Absolutely. Here we're going to rest at the tavern. We can either, well, care for some grub. The Tasty Grub is a filthy establishment of ruckus, celebration, and carefree revelry. You can trade in supplies here for refreshments. So we can either heal all our units or we can get some favor. I'm going to heal my units because we did take that doom in the Mesmer fight. Rally point at the gates. So this is what I was talking about when we come to this symbiont attack wave. The symbiont enemies they are just going to come and attack us basically at the gates. So we're going to go to the rally point, which is right at the front of the Citadel, and we are against some Fungal Menaces. Terrifying, and they also receive half stagger from ranged attacks, so again, quite tricky for our current setup. Okay, so they're entrenched, enabling siege attack, cleared when staggered. Okay, so sadly I don't have any melee units, so I can't guarantee this fight. However, let's focus on killing one, and I always tend to focus the higher health one. I don't know if that's correct or not. I would love to hear sort of feedback, or if I've played anything wrong in this game. Do let me know if you are still watching, of course. Okay, I'm going to, because we've got 5 damage coming in. Sadly, it's going to be randomized because not anybody is in the guard zone. So I'm going to apply 3 and apply 3, and I'm just going to reserve one of those and then my turn. Okay. So he's already entrenched, which is not good. Meaning he's just going to... Okay, shock is definitely the way to go. Let's apply feeble to him so he's doing a lot less damage. And let's stagger this one. And apply barrier to him. End our turn. So I thought I had... no, fixation... It's already gone. Okay. Interference... He's only doing 1 damage. That's absolutely fine. Fixation on that chimney, if possible. I'm actually going to... That won't kill that. That will. Nice. 20 damage. Amazing. It's going to be 8 damage. I'm also going to do that. And... Brilliant. Okay. Resonant Echo. Could that be utilized here? No. Well, it could actually. Should we just do a big shock blast? Gonna take some damage though. That was probably not worth it. That's a shame. Okay, I just got gunked, so that's nice. Right. What have we got? We got a shock bomb. Let's do shock 7. I need... Supply feeble. That means... Okay, nice. He's staggered. Perfect. I'm then going to just get rid of him and take that into the next turn. And let's apply some shock because that will kill him. Goodbye. Fungal Menace. So now we get a corrupted core and a artifact fragment, or an artifact fragment rather. And we are finally entering the next cycle, which is the resting cycle. So at the start of this, it looks like we can draft a lantern action. So we can potentially replace an existing card. So we can apply 3 barrier and repeat for each of our, what's it called? Flow spent. Now, that's interesting because we can apply Resonant Echo, which could just massively buff a unit. What have we got at the moment? So this is always better if we are not using the matching flow, because if we have, you know, 2 energy rather than 1, it effectively does the same. Yeah. Sure, why not? It's probably not the right choice, but I'm going to take it, and I'm going to replace a barrier. So here we now go into the, well, you know, the sort of bolstering our deck. This is our deck building sort of, this is the whole bread and butter of upgrading everything. The reactor pods. Now that there are 4 force field generators that require a reactor, which generates a force field, so it protects your city by absorbing damage to the gate lantern. This regenerates between battles. This is always good to get early. Lovely little effect there, swooshing up to the top left for the force field. This, you know, just basically gives the lantern 10 extra health or hit points. The next thing I would definitely recommend is the Corrupted Core. Always use this first, as you can draft a rare unit. So, Favor of the Troika. Lord Attendant. The trio of faction leaders bestows a new unit from among their ranks to join your forces. Plenty of warriors in the city clamour for an opportunity to fight alongside your forces. So, bind with the oath and draft a rare unit. Okay, interesting. So, both of these I've not seen before. So, we have the Chemist and we have the Custodian. Don't know why I read it right to left, but I did. Okay, let's read what the Custodian does. He is definitely more up my alley than the Chemist is, just by visuals. But let's see. So, Stormblade. All attacks apply shock equal to armor. Okay, we don't have much armor application, but perhaps he has it in his kit. He does in Armored Advance. That's definitely something. So, take stagger after each turn. Which is the shock and armor, blah-de-blah-de-blah. We know all of those things. There's 2 of them in a squad, and they both have 16 health. Okay. The Chemist. Whenever you apply burning to an enemy with shock, also apply tar 1. Whenever you apply shock to an enemy with burning, also apply tar 1. Okay. This would definitely be the build that I'm orienting around, but I don't have any way of applying both of those just yet. So I can only apply shock and I can't apply burning. So let's see, does he have it? Okay, so he does apply burning and 1 shock. And he applies tar and... Okay, so we could only have a 2 in 7, 6, and 8. You know, it's a very low chance of actually getting this card to utilize his skill. Ooh, okay. Deal 10 damage and set its shock to 5. If shock is reduced, Custodian gains armor that much fading. Okay. Custodian gains that much fading armor. I am definitely going this unit right here. Evolving Symbiote. This one is upgrading a card or forgetting a card, or I can sell it off to the Curio Collector. I'm going to upgrade a card because I want to see what... Can this go down? Okay. I always like upgrading one of these because it has initiative, which basically... you always draw it first. It's on the top of your deck. Now, the artifact fragments, you can either salvage them for scrap, or you can go to the reliquary and get a chance of getting a technology, which we sadly didn't that time. but we will this time. So draft a new tech. Lovely little animation here to assemble. And I can see this one that says sparks, so maybe this will do shock. Whenever shock detonates, apply shock 3 to a random enemy. That's interesting. Seeing Stone. Whenever you trigger your first maximum flow or matching flow bonus each turn, you gain planning 1, so you get to draw an extra card at the start of each turn or whenever you play the last card in your hand. Interesting. And Repetition Engine. After playing a card with limited charges, return it to your hand if it has any charges remaining. Playing this card uses a charge. Once all charges are spent, banish it. Okay. So we could overclock twice in one round. We could apply Shock Bomb 3 times. That is definitely what we want. And also Guided Shot as well, which is very important. Repetition Engine will be the winning artifact of this build. So we are now in our final stage, and this will conclude this video once we have finished this battle, but there are a couple things that we need to do first. So we got to talk to the Lantern Researcher, and we need to go to the Forum. So we need to take our chances, which the Brewing Trouble Alchemist. Well met, Warden. I believe I might have something for you here. We can take a mystery potion, or we can just gain 1 favor. Now, there's no point gaining a favor because we have maximum favor. So I can randomly acquire one of these 4 potions, and 3 out of 4 are very good, so that's good chances. And I got the one that saves my unit from dying, so that's brilliant. The Ancient Module will allow the Guild Technicians to alter the design of lanterns used on battle sites. So I can draft another lantern card. I do think applying shock consistently is very much needed, but I am mindful of the amount of favor that I'm using. However, I don't think I've used this card once, and I think I should place it. So this is the only last thing on this depth that we can do, and we need to rally the forces at the gates. We are now fighting our first boss, which is terrifying. But here he is, the Behemoth. Magnitude determines the amount of aftershock created, counts up after magnitude rising is used. Dazing Intent will apply Exerted, and Cleave Attacker, he will effectively use cleave attacks sometimes if he is intending to do so. So let's use all of our units. I'm going to attain my overclock. I'm going to armor advance my Custodian. And you know what? I'm going to use it on him again, which gives him another fading armor, which I don't think really does much. Shall I? I'm going to... Ooh, okay. Nice. Okay, magnitude 4. Okay. So he's already staggered somehow. Well done us, I guess. Brilliant. So, Equalizer, this will actually increase his shock to 5, so that's probably not the best at the moment. Resonant Echo, I could just do. It's kind of a shame because I don't really want to be using this or this until he's not staggered, but I mean, I guess I will have to. So what do we have here? We have a couple different options we can target. But again, this stagger mechanic absolutely brilliant. It really focuses you on, you know, your play style and what you really want to be sort of fighting against. So we have the dorsal vents, so we can break to weaken the barrier generation by 50%, which his 16 barrier would go to 8, which is very useful. However, he does have a large pool of health, and 16 barrier doesn't really, it's only 10% of his health currently. You know, it's less than max health. We can remove him from exerting enemies, and we can also reset his magnitude. Now his magnitude is these cards here. So quick draw, when drawn, immediately draw an extra card, but if we ignore it, meaning if we leave it in our hand, Aftershock explodes and dealing 3 damage to the lantern. So total of 9 damage at the moment in our discard pile. So I'm not too worried about that at this stage, but we will have to look into that. So I'm going to go for this exertion because if our Custodian gets exerted, then we lose our shock application midway through the fight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this equalizer for the next round because, I mean, it didn't really do much, did it? So he's going to do 14 damage to the front, and this is the guard break sort of intent, and he will remove his stagger, which is a shame. So what shall I do? He's already on 5. Let's do that, and then let's give him a big chunk of barrier. Nice. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. We're pretty well protected here, actually. I'm feeling confident about this fight. The shock application is incredible. So let's do that. Deathless, I'm not bothered about. We might as well focus that in the turn. He's going to apply 5 shock, and we've almost killed him, which we definitely have on this next strike. Valiant strike, go on Custodian. Brilliant. And we took no lantern damage. Amazing. So we are therefore victorious. Brilliant. So now we go into the second depth of the map. So you will see that with the boss slain, we are descending beyond. So the fabric of the ground rots and crumbles beneath your feet. The citizens huddle into the safety of the vault city, and its doors seal just in time. It drills deeper into the earth with its massive core laser, beginning its descent. Restore all living units to max health and enter the next depth. Here we are. Now, if you're also familiar with Ball X Pit, this looks, you know, just that sort of the fact that you're descending down, it looks kind of the same. Oh, now we're being introduced to a different character, which I want to know who that is before I finish the episode. So, wow, what a intriguing environment. The mycologist. Though an unglamorous job, researching new uses for the spores keeps everyone alive. Very true. Help the mycologist further develop the mycelium or help harvest spore caps instead. So we can acquire a dream fruit for use later, or we can gain high morale 2 and the mycologist gains mushroom 2. Sure. Potentially harvestable later, question mark. Sure, the stench and flavor is unforgettable. Yes, it is. Thank you, mycologist. Very, very kind. So I very much hope you enjoyed this episode. The aim of it again was, just practicing, just learning the guild, figuring out how they are, used, how the drafting of the build works, how they interact with each other. It looks like the Custodian is sort of a brilliant way to apply shock and to keep that shock application consistent through the rounds. This repetition engine artifact that we've got is amazing with shock bomb, high amounts of burst damage, and yeah, very much enjoying it. Would definitely recommend this game. I mean, I'm going to be continuing this run in the next episode, but I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you soon.